everyone. I think I'm finally on Facebook Live. I'm just waiting for a message to come through that everything's going well. So hopefully we are now connected online. So if someone could give me the signal that all is well, we're ready to go. Okay, so sorry about that. It was a little bit of a blip with a browser. It looks like it might be a fake. Anybody can give me the thumbs up, that'd be great. Okay, so I think we can see you. Hello. Oh, that's great. Now, really good, because I actually thought I was talking to myself. I'm used to talking to myself at the moment, as you know. Normally it's talking to a screen, but now I'm having to do this via my phone, which is propped up on 3 books, propped up again on another device, and I'm hoping that I've got it going live over here as well. So, oh, here we are. I'm actually relieved. And do you know what? For an actual a topic today on to be back to school, not to back to school, it's really bad that we've had technical issues, because I was really fired up and ready to go, but also a little bit nervous as well, because it's a highly emotive topic as well. So I've got my little crib sheets up here. So if I keep looking up, it's because it reminds me about all the things I've got to say. And as you know, I always have a lot to say. So here we are, to be back to school, not to be. Now, you will all have received my letter yesterday, and we're just really watching and waiting to see what is happening, really. So on Sunday the 10th, we had the message from the Prime Minister that the proposal was that reception year 1 and year 6 would be returning to school possibly on the 1st of June. But obviously that decision hasn't been made final yet, and that there would be some face-to-face opportunity for year 10 and year 12 later on in the term as well. So we're really talking today about what it means for us, and why we're doing what we're doing, and how we're thinking about it as well. So we have actually been planning what we would do when we come back to work, basically since we locked down. So we have a group where we're constantly talking about the grounds and the maintenance, and making sure the boarding houses are up and running, and making sure the health and safety checks are being done, what it looks like, who we'd have to bring back when, taking all the information in that the government's been giving us. And I suppose you may well have seen also that the information at the moment is becoming under a little bit of a fire against the government. I'm fully in support of them. I think what they've done is amazing, but we as teachers and head teachers, we do need a little bit more clarity, because there's a lot of confusion around. Looking at is all the implementation issues that the school has to go through, and maybe some of you have seen those documents. So they're on the Gov website, so have a look. That is really interesting, and that's some of the basis on which we're looking at returning to school. So we have been looking at all the things such as public and school transport. So there is advice against that at the moment. How would we teach children in clusters? For example, year 6, if we had to teach in clusters, we'd probably need 10 classrooms, and we've only got 3 fully qualified academic teachers in year 6. How would we do that? How would we provide for the children who couldn't make it into school as well? To have to lock away soft toys and furnishings is a little bit of an issue for us as well. That's so awful for the young children. And also shared resources, crayons and pens and rulers and things like that. How do we social distance? How many staff do we know that we've got? How many pupils would we come into school? And I will feedback on the surveys. So that was really interesting. You'll be interested to hear what happened there. And also the impact that we've got on children if they can't come back to normality. We all want the world to get back to normal as much as we can. And I just want to give it from my perspective as well, because thank you for those surveys. I've read through all the comments there were, and I've written this down. 490 comments came through, and I read them all, and I've put them in different columns of similar experiences or thoughts and feelings. And it really was to gauge your opinion. It's been a highly emotional week. Wow, has it been? I mean, since Sunday night, I must admit, Sunday night and Monday night did not sleep, having all sorts of nightmares and dreams and worries and everything else like that, just to make sure that we get it right for you and your children and our staff. It's not an easy task, as you can imagine, and the surveys, they feed back on that too. And from my perspective, I'm a mum as well, and when I looked at some of the responses, there was a little bit of criticism about the questions being loaded, and they were. I don't apologise for that, because if I'd come back with a wishy-washy question like, if this was put in place and this was put in place and this was put in place, would you be prepared to come back to school? It would be 100% yes. I wanted fully loaded questions, binary, yes, no, to spark a debate and get this really going. I need to draw out what you feel. And the reaction was really quite interesting, not letting on just yet what that was. But I'll say it's been quite emotional. From my point of view, I'm torn between the data, I'm torn between the government, I'm torn between my initial gut feeling, my intuition as a mum as well. You know, in my own circumstance, I've got my 17-year-old can't take his exams. On the 22nd of May, he should have had his final leaving service at the church in Windsor, followed by Heart and Garter. He's been here since reception. He can't take his exams. He doesn't know whether the university places are going to be there or whether they're going back in September. That's really quiet. Nothing's gone on. I've got a daughter who right now is doing an online third-year economics degree paper from her bedroom. And my son, who's working from home, last week, the whole layer beneath him was made redundant. He's waiting for a phone call. My husband hasn't worked since the back end of January. I'm here. I know the pain. I'm feeling it. I want this world to recover as soon as we can. But I don't want to put anyone in danger. And we have to look at all of those things. We have to weigh it all up. And there's an argument on each side. So getting to that, the survey response is 50% for, 50% against. And that's, apart from year one, that's really, and reception, that's really quite across the school. So first of all, I surveyed reception class parents and year one. And just to give you a little bit about the feedback on that to start with. So the year one parents were actually more fearful about coming to school than the reception parents. So, for example, 67% of year one were not happy with their children coming back in June, against 57% in reception. 96% of year one parents were worried about social distancing, yet only 71% in reception. And 88% of the parents in year one were afraid of the spread of reinfection, against 65% in reception. And that's really interesting because, you know, by year one, they're probably a little bit more aware of what social distancing means and probably a little bit more understanding the reception children. So that was really interesting. In year six, the strength of feeling was very much like it was in those years from year 2 to year 5. A real 50-50 split about feelings about whether we should come back, although overall about 70% of you do worry about social distancing. Now I'm just going to concentrate on the other year groups because the government did mention year 10 and year 12. So with year 10, again, 50-50 split, with 67% of parents worried about social distancing. And in year 12, there was a 60-40 split against coming back to school. The thoughts of all of us seem to be really divided. Sorry if I'm a little bit distracted here and there because every notification I get about lessons starting or whether someone's calling me or whether someone's texting me is coming up as well. So I'm trying not to look at that. I'm trying to keep focus on the screen. And I've also had a notification that the connection won't be too good as well. So adverse circumstances, bear with me this week, okay? So those strong views, I've been looking at all the comments. The comments about coming back to school are mainly about social interaction with each other and the mental health issues that are occurring because the children cannot be with their peers. And I fully understand that. I really do. There is the concern in the upper years that children can't come back for lab time, for example. You know, if you're doing the sciences at GCSE and A level, you need that lab time. So I understand that too. Really fervent, really passionate answers about why we should be back in school right now. And on the other side, really passionate answers about life comes first. And we have to be careful. We have to put safety first. So if ever I'm sat right in the middle here, I understand you all. And we've got to make the best decisions. It is really, really difficult. So we have to look at the mental health issues as well. But I have had a response from somebody from the medical profession in the junior school saying that the impact on mental health of coming back under these not normal circumstances is equally damaging. I don't know if you've seen some of the children on the news in other countries, and it's nice to see them out playing. But how do you tell a child that they can't run up to the friend? How do you tell them they can't be in the same group? How can you explain why one's got one teacher and one's got the other? How can we deliver that social interaction for the children? It really worries me. And there are people still dying. And it does worry me because, unfortunately, some years ago, we had a member of staff die and the impact on our community was horrendous. So we have to take all of this into consideration. Some parents at home aren't well. They've got grandparents living with them as well. And what really worries me is when we have a government minister who can sit on the front bench of the House of Commons on his own, with no one behind him, 3 members of the opposition in front of him, and explain that it's okay to put up to 15 children together in a classroom with adults. And there is no real evidence to say it is scientifically okay to do this right now. If there was, there'd be no doubt in my mind about what we should do next. But we have to be responsible. We all have to do our best in these unfortunate circumstances. I have lost sleep, and I can tell you now, and I bet Mrs. Cox is listening, 2 days ago, I actually had an online sob with her. I sat there and sniffed and snotted for about 20 minutes with Mrs. Cox because she knows and she's feeling the same. We wish we had the answers and we wish we could do this safely and sensibly. But remember, the government haven't said that you're definitely coming back on the 1st of June. They don't know. Their review's on the 28th of May. Now, I think that's a Thursday for the Monday. Is that right? Shouldn't we not be watching and waiting a little bit more to see what happens? And that's what we intend to do. We will watch and we will wait and we will gather that information and we will keep hearing you and keep hearing our children. And on June the 8th, we'll have a little bit more feedback for you too. But there's other things to consider as well. So we're going to look what happens now, but then we've got to think about September. September's not too far away. We've got to start thinking about that now. Interestingly, I surveyed the staff as well, and I just said, how many of you feel that the country will be ready for full integration into school in September? And 60% of our staff said they didn't think it would happen. Now, that's just gauging opinion from our professional members of staff. And I've been listening to other heads. And there is a lot of talk that we might not even be back fully integrated in September. I hope so. I'm optimistic for it. That's what we're planning. We're planning at the moment, Plan A, 1 timetable, 1 school, all children on site. But we are also looking at the possibilities that it might not happen too. And if that's the case, we are looking for additional facilities. We are looking at how we will get children to and back in school. So please be assured we are looking at every opportunity, every eventuality. And who knows? There are antibody tests out there now. There's more testing. It could be a very, very different picture come July and August. I hope so. And I hope we have some firm evidence on which we can build our decisions. It's not Mrs. Cunniff's choice. It's not, we've got to pull this together, we've got to listen to the government and we've got to do what's right for our children. I think one day I'll be looking back at this and telling my own grandchildren about it. And hopefully they won't be going through what we're going through right now. So I am now going to open up the floor in a minute for any questions. This is going to be really interesting. I'm going to have to scroll down my screen and hopefully I won't cut you off, okay? Technology has been a bit of a challenge for me too, as you may well know, but I've learnt. Other considerations for September. We've actually come on leaps and bounds with our technology. We've achieved far more than we thought we would. When we started our project 6 months ago, we didn't realise that a virus was going to come along and force us to embrace this and get over those barriers. We've done it. We're not going to go back. We're going to move forward. And next week, our LVS Perspectives 5 will be classroom transformation following COVID-19. This virus won't stop us. We're going to move forward. We want to be back in the classroom because you cannot beat that face-to-face interaction. We want to be back with each other where we can see each other, where we can look at each other's faces and understand how we're feeling. But we've also got to embrace technology on a good sense back in the classroom. But if there was a second peak or another virus comes up next year, we're ready and waiting and taking it on the chin. So it's a little bit of a doom and gloom today, not feeling particularly happy. I wish I had all the answers for you, but I don't. I am listening to you, and I only have your best interest at heart. Right, okay, so the questions are coming in, but what they're doing when they get to the middle of my screen, they're disappearing, so I'm going to be quick here. So, could the school relax lessons a little after end of assessments? Oh, yeah, do you know what? Oh, wouldn't that be lovely? We should. We've used Zoom now this week, and it's starting to really take off. And I actually like it myself. In fact, I've got other heads coming on for a glass of wine later. So it's social. We can do it. Let's really get going with that. And I think we should relax a little bit and have a little bit more downtime. So someone said here that published that the 2 metre guidance is untrue given the aerosol nature of the virus. So Sandra is not going to be. I'm going to press see more, and hopefully I'm not going to cut you off. Is not going to change the picture of today. No, I agree with you. We need to look at the science behind that as well. Is the school considering live sessions with teachers versus pre-recorded videos? The lack of love face-to-face and interactions. Yeah, we need to do more. It's a very brave step. I mean, when I started doing this, I was actually so nervous. I was nervous today when the technology wasn't working, but I think we've got to embrace it. We've got to do more, especially if this could be something we've got to embrace in the future. If school starts, will anyone be asked to wear a face mask? No. We've actually been told categorically by the government under no circumstances are we to wear masks or children to wear masks because of the threat of spreading the infection even further. Okay, yes, more Zoom. Can we have more Zoom interactive lessons? Orla loves her lessons. Yes, Mr. Clark, we can. Are there plans for year 10, 12 to interact on site with their teachers? How will progress be properly measured? That's a really good one. Okay. Fabulous question. So our focus is on year 10 and 12 now. We're calling for interim grades this week so that we as a senior management team can have a look at their standardised data, look at where the progress is and see how much effort they're applying. You will receive phone calls from your tutor to gauge what you feel about your child's progress. We have surveyed the year 10 and their teachers with the same questions about where do you think you are on the syllabus. Have you made good progress? Are you getting good feedback? Do you feel that you're behind? Are you worried about next year? And later today, I will pull those survey results off and compare them, and as a team, we will discuss them. So we will make sure that we know exactly where we are with the syllabus. The face-to-face sessions that the government say that we should have, they can take place in any way. So if they could be like we are talking now, one-to-one. If there's any chance that we could be on site for that, we will review that, because that is so important. But whatever happens, you will get mentoring throughout this summer term. You can see I'm getting passionate about that. My year 6 had her first school Zoom today and she had the biggest smile on her face afterwards. That's amazing. Really well done. Big smiles. And Mrs. Izod's here. Hello, Mrs. Izod. And she says, we are starting Zoom next week in infant and junior school. Brilliant. I think the junior school were waiting to see what happened in the senior school just to make sure that, it was up and running. Kids get out of bed and get motivated, so they do. And do you know what was funny today? I had a screen share of someone's screen and I saw a tutor group and somebody actually admitted, sorry, Mum, I'm late out of bed. It was 9:10. That's not on. We've told that before. Will year 13 students get their end of year awards or will this be September the 18th? Okay, so we're taking in the President's Day and Celebration Day awards now. Our plan is for a celebration on the 18th of September. Let's hope we are back and able to do that. I mean, if we can't, we'll have to put it off again and then think again, because then the children might be off to university or might have disappeared different countries. But those prizes have already been collated. They're ready to go, ready for us to process. So yes, we will have the awards. This one, our experience is that not all teachers are as engaged online of others. Some are fantastic. We are looking at consistency. We're also looking at motivation as well, because I think it's becoming quite tiresome for a lot of children, especially at the moment, being online. And it's hard for staff to keep motivated. So we've got to keep thinking, how can we motivate this curriculum? What can we throw in? As the previous caller said, let's have some time off and let's do something really engaging. Let's make sure we're all fully engaged. Okay, so more sessions where the children can see the teacher talking live would be good. I agree. Absolutely 100 agree. I've got a team meeting this afternoon and we'll talk about then. I'm scrolling down the page. Lots and lots about Zoom, more and more Zoom. Absolutely agree with that one as well. We've talked about year 10 and 12. Any more questions, keep them coming in. I'm just going to the top because a lot came in straight away. So just scrolling to the top. No, okay, here we go. I'm going back down the bottom of the screen now. Okay. What about having some mental health days with no lessons but just activities or playing for kids? Wow, that's a brilliant one. And next week is National Mental Health Week. I've got my pen. I'm going to write that one down. National Health Week. We should maybe have a day of activities like that. I do agree with that. If anyone's got ideas about things we could do, that would be brilliant. The other thing I was thinking, which might help with social interaction, is hopefully the government might relax it outside school a little bit more. So there could be opportunities for small groups of children with their parents to interact, which would be brilliant, because then we can all be part of the responsibility that's social distancing. Okay, I've got some good ones coming in as well now. Okay, could you consider using Zoom for teaching and interaction? I am a great fan of Teams, Zoom. I'm actually personally getting on better with that than I am with Teams. So again, I shall put that one forward. Writing on list, Zoom for lessons. Mental health days, we've got that one as well. The motivation, yeah, I can see that in year 2. It is so hard to keep them motivated. I mean, who wants to get up and look at a screen all day? There could be concentrate on morning sessions, maybe break after lunch, morning sessions. Otherwise, it's a long day, it is as well. And we have a Year 12 parent here. Year 12 are getting the stress as they feel they may be behind and not ready for exams. Those surveys have gone to the Year 12 as well. So if you've got a Year 10 or Year 12, can you ask them to check the school email and to reply to that survey? We need to know their opinions. I also had forums for Year 11 and 13 set up on Teams where children could feedback to me directly about what their peers feel, and I will set those up in Year 10 and 12 this afternoon. So if your child would like to be part of that, if you could email me in, and I will set up a Teams where they can feedback to me directly as well. I wouldn't be too worried about being behind. From what I see, I think we're on track, and in some subjects we might be even a little bit further than where we are. And remember, the last week in school is normally a week of complete and utter disruption because of all our prize givings and sports days, and we have Lives Week as well. But we are working right until the end of the 3rd of July, right the way. Other schools are very much working towards the 1st of June, with the rest of the children 23rd of June. They are planning around results. So press see more here. From surveys of who does what and who can send their children back. It doesn't feel like LVS are doing this, and if you aren't making a decision till the 8th, then a week or so to give everyone notice there simply won't be time for the children to get back as early as they finish. I know we have a lot shorter term being an independent school, but there's nothing we can change about that at the moment. And remember, this is all up in the air. The government haven't said schools are going back on the 1st of June. It's the aim to go back on the 1st of June. I can't see it. I could be wrong. I wouldn't put any money on it coming back on the 1st of June, especially they're under fire quite a lot at the moment. And then even if it was the 8th or the 15th, it's good they're going to get back. But realistically, we're done by first week in July. But let's see what we can come up with. Let's not write anything off. Okay, going on to... That just sparked something off in my head. There's a lot in the press apparently about the unions, about these 9 unions getting together. And there's one in particular which is quite militant. Not going to name them, don't want to get in trouble with them. We don't recognise it here at LVS. Telling teachers not to engage with going back to school, that's rubbish. Come on. These kids at the end of the day, we've got to take into consideration the health and well-being of us all. It is scary being adults. There's no science there to say how it will affect adults. But, we've got to work together, because if we don't work together, how are we going to get over this? But our staff are fully on board. Our staff are fully engaged. I spoke to the whole staff community this morning. We're raring to go. We want to make this right. Okay, you see, I'm getting passionate again now. I promise I won't start crying again, especially if Mrs. Cox is there. I might have to give her a call later. Next one. We agree that more academic in the morning and the afternoon being more relaxed with physical stuff, and especially as, the weather should be getting nicer, although it's pretty cold right now. One here, the junior school have been brilliant with challenges and a way of sharing activities, but not seen that in Year 8. That's interesting. So I'll take that back, because it could be that we're focusing a little bit too much on classes when we need to have a little bit more downtime. And there's no hiding in Zoom. It's good for them. I totally agree. My Year 10 prefers Teams for teaching. Okay, but we could look at different means, different types of classes. The sports department have started using Zoom a little bit more. But we are listening. We'll take it on board. Okay, here we go. Could we parents find out the lesson curriculums to support the children to do the work online? Pen in hand, writing down, curriculum letters. We will send that home. You'll get that, I promise you, with that one. Zoom is not so popular in our house. Ours find it exhausted and intrusive too. Please don't abandon Teams. No, we won't. We've invested too much in this and it works too well. But we can get a combination. Remember that we're working together on this. Have you considered having any contact with the children during the summer holidays? Will there be any optional work, see more to help us through that period? We haven't talked about the summer holidays yet. We haven't quite got there. We've been consumed this week with the possible reopening of schools. We need to engage with staff as well. We need to look at what we're doing. And we are, for transition, everyone's going on 365, including our new pupils as well. So it could be that we use that to put up reading lists and things like that and make it continuous. And there are those of us that are here throughout the summer holidays. So we're not going to just abandon you. If we don't come back to school, we won't abandon you. I'll be here. We'll make sure there's something, that to keep everyone occupied and ready for September. Live lessons, Zoom, assume all children can access the technology at a specific time. This is not always the case. Oh, that is a good point. And part of our discussion next week, we are, as a school, looking at possible devices for children. Now, that was going to be phase 2. That was probably a year away. We were looking at banks of devices in school. One of the questions I want to raise with you over the next week is it time that we looked at a standard device, however we do it, and so the children have their own? And I know we're sharing resources. Some families find it easier than others. I know internet connection's an issue. I know for small houses where you've got 4 people all online, a printer, 3 children, a dog, a parrot. I've got a parrot. He gets on my nerves sometimes when he's talking all the time. And we need to take that into consideration. Big think over the next week. Big discussion next week about technology and how we move forward. Okay, here we go. Is there a possibility of extending the term? Right, technically we can't extend the term. That's a lot of staff contracts and things like that. We would have to go back to the table and talk to staff. There's one thing I didn't mention. Big point. Looking at my sheet now, and you've sparked this off in my head. There is talk next year, and I'm not going to alarm anyone, if exams go ahead next year, that they will be probably not starting till the 1st of June, going right into July. Bearing in mind the state schools are, they're in school to about the 23rd of July. So what we need to do is we need to realistically look at our plans for our academic calendar for September. There's all sorts of talk about bringing the year 10 and 12 back a week earlier. That's something we've been mooting at the moment. There's all the things about trimming down the length of the holidays next year. Looking at the exams now, we might have to change our term dates to match up to the state schools or a bit before, or keep particular years in school. These are all things that have come up this morning. I know some independent schools have already changed their term dates. So we have to think outside the box. All these things are coming up, and I haven't got the answers at the moment, but this is why I like these discussions, because it throws these in. I can make my list, and I can go away and work on them as well. A lot of projects being set in Year 8, which is exhausting, prefer focused lessons. Okay, we put the projects in there because we thought the lessons would be too exhausting. We thought they might be a little bit more flexible, but there's quite a bit of negativity about the projects. I know a lot of them are probably coming to an end. Bearing in mind, 10 and 12 have got their assessments for 2 weeks when they come back after half term, and then the rest of the school kick in with assessments too. But again, I will feed that back because we don't want you to be exhausted, and we do know. I know I've been there with the castles and the volcanoes and all that. I know what it takes. Okay. How are we looking for the boarding student if the school opens? As my son, I guess most boarding schools are just pressing more, not able to commit from home on a daily basis. Okay, that's a good question, because in all reality, it doesn't look like we'll be able to get our boarding open this term. And a lot of schools are in the same position. I know of huge boarding schools where they're actually asking them to become day pupils, or the other way around, asking the day pupils to become boarders. I'm not so sure what the answer for that one is, but with LVS, with a good balance of boarders and day, we would have to, if we were in any shape or form to come back, it would not be through boarding, and we'd have to provide the online lessons for you too. If school starts, will juniors need to socially distance in the playground? I'm not sure Year 2 can do that. I think that's one of the big things. How can we guarantee they're going to socially distance? Is it right to stand in the playground and yell at the children not to be together? I don't know. I'm beyond it, because naturally as humans we want to interact. Even on the programmes on the BBC News, when they showed children in other countries, even though they said they were socially distancing, I don't know if you saw it, but there were times where they weren't. They were shoulder to shoulder. You cannot stop them. It's human nature. Would like some face-to-face sessions re university UCAS, uni applications and personal statements, as we need to assume, here we go, that things will stay as it is at the moment. So as part of our induction and transition process, Mr. Paget will be running all those UCAS sessions after half term in our information evenings. We did publish an initial set of dates for those information evenings, but we are going to change them to make them slightly later in the term because we've got a lot of induction going on and we feel then those information evenings sort of fall towards the end of term. But the UCAS will take place. Mr. Paget's got that in control. We are going to carry on as normal, as if everything's going to be all right next year. Let's be positive. Let's not have too much doom and gloom. Our son has grown a lot. Oh dear, bless. I can empathise with that. Before can the kids have? Do you know, if we come back, let's bin that uniform. Let's just have fun. But no, don't worry about uniform, please. That's the last of our worries. So, you know, I was actually thinking, you know, we're on to our uniform suppliers, and I do believe everything's getting back up and with production and stuff. But it might be a good idea for the next couple of weeks, you know, maybe if you've got uniform and shoes and whatever that don't fit, please donate them to school, because we might have an issue next year. I'm hoping we don't, but it'd be lovely to have a PTA to have a good stock of uniform to pass on. So we could have, I could arrange some dumping sessions when the school gates are open. You can come and dump your uniform, but we wouldn't enforce school uniform, no, especially shoes. Oh, no, too expensive. Been there, done that one. Okay, my year 10 seems to be interacting well with the team's lessons, but it's difficult to tell whether he is behind on anything. Will there be any way of getting some direction on areas to catch up over the summer? Yes, so you will have those face-to-face phone calls with your tutor in the next couple of weeks, and then they will have their assessments, and then we'll be contacting you again. Almost parents' academic review meetings basically taking place all of that last week, face-to-face with your academic staff. You can call into us at any time. If you were sat really thinking right now that you want some feedback now, contact us. We'll do it now. We won't wait. We're here for you. Okay, here we go. Our parents' evening. Someone else just mentioned parents' evenings. So I will send out a letter with those revised dates, and also our proposed plan that for those feedback sessions in that last week. We need to start booking them and get onto that as well. So a lot of projects going on in most subjects and far fewer structured interactive lessons to engage with for a full hour. Would love the balance to be redressed. Yes, totally agree with you. That's really good feedback coming through a lot of parents on this site at the moment. Yes, please, especially in tech. 3-week half term, May 2020, work till 20th of July. We can't do that. We cannot alter our term dates at the moment, and we can't extend our staff contracts. In an ideal world, but we can't do that, but we can make up the time in other ways. Leave that one with me. If exams are to potentially be held later, has any account been taken of the Ecuador 2021 trip going for next year's year 11? I think Mr. Martin's on to that one. Pen, got it, Ecuador. Leave that with me, because we were looking at the dates of that, so that's a good one. Thank you. I nearly said your name out there, but thank you. Why can't Year 1 see the teacher on Teams, whereas Year 5 can? It would help the Year 1 focus. A good point. We need to be consistent. Mrs. Cox, if you're listening to that one, I've got my pen in my hand. We need to look at looking at faces on screen as well. Staff are working incredibly hard, plus have personal commitments, so extending the school year does not seem fair to them. The thing is, if we were behind, if we hadn't been delivering, if we hadn't been... and do you know what? It has been a hard slog. I know that this has been a tremendous of hard work. Our pupils, look at the time they're spending. When the teachers log off, obviously they're marking and they're planning and they're trying to do their best as well. And we have been delivering on a day-to-day basis. And I think that psychologically, that end date is in July where it is. And for all our well-being, we need to look at that date as being official end of school. What we do unofficially is a different thing. What we do next year is a different thing, because I can start planning that and involving staff and changing the term dates and consulting with you too. That's a different story. Okay, right, here we go. You can't please everyone. You're doing a great job. This is complex. Do you know, so many people with me said, Christine, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And the amount of thinking time, wow, 3 o'clock in the morning thinking time, I bet we've all had that as well. Mrs. C, take her breath. You did a fantastic job. Thank you very much. I had a lovely message. Do you know, I was really quite nervous about coming on because I have been highly emotional, and I promise I'm not going to cry right now. It's been hugely emotional. And when I've read the responses and seen the strength of feeling from all of you on both sides, I empathise with you. I'm there with you. I'm here. The staff have been brilliant. I think LVS has handled this so well. The idea of children playing in their own square in the playground is awful. I'm really glad you said that. Now, this is a parent who has a year 13, a year 8 and a year 2. And thank you. Because for all the hardship my own family are going through, I wouldn't want them back out there playing in squares. Even if my coming on 18-year-old is a square in a pub right now. You know, I think there's got to be time, and things will reopen, and it will become a lot more easier. We're so happy to stay safe and do Zoom till we know. Mine would rather than be at home. Mine would rather that than be in the home all day. Have teachers being provided with computers, or are they using their own? Okay, so right, that's really good. They've all got Surface Pros. So when we started the IT project, we went out and we bought 175 Surface Pros, which we stuck in the cupboard. And the idea was that they were going to be rolled out on the 20th of April when we started our technology programme, you know, like the 4 Cs and creative education and how we can flip the learning and stuff like that. And then when it got to, we saw the tsunami of virus coming over from Europe, and we were watching. And then about 3 days, we went, get them out of the cupboard, quick. And everybody was given their own Surface Pro. They weren't configured in the right way. We just thought, just get them out, let's do it. And bearing in mind, we've got young staff, obviously, who, you know, their Surface Pro is probably one of their hygiene factors and stuff. And you've got older staff at the very end of the spectrum who probably didn't know what a Surface Pro was. But you know what? We're all using it, and it's brilliant, really fantastic. And it's been a good opportunity to find out how they work, how resilient they are, how easy they are to use. I don't know if you've seen a Surface Pro, but you can pull the screen off. It's an iPad. You work with a pen. I haven't got my pen out of the box yet. You can put it in the case, use it as a laptop. They're brilliant. We have to look what's good for the children and what's good for the junior children and the senior school children. And the question is, which we can have next week, is, do we have all the same device? What does it look like? What's your experience? What do you think? Okay, here we go. Lovely to see you too, Mrs. L. So same here with the uniform. None of it fits. Donate it. Please donate it, because look, if we can't resell it and pass it on and to people here, right? Because do you know what? The stuff I've had that's been virtually brand new, we can utilise it. The PTA can make some money of it, and if we can't use it, then we can ship it abroad when the planes. We've got a parent who's probably online now who knows what I'm talking about, ready to get in that plane and fly it out to less fortunate countries. We have had conflicting info on whether Year 13 grades are now finished. Massive shout out to the A-level PE teachers for going above and beyond to help students through this. Other subjects, not so much. Okay. So we have conflicted on whether yes are now final. Yes, they are. So departments were asked to submit their grades to the senior management yesterday at 4 o'clock. We're checking over those just to make sure there's no irregularities, that we go back and check our March grades, make sure that everything's consistent, make sure we've got all the evidence there. Next week we have department results meetings. We normally hold these in autumn when we've got the results. We're holding them now in May, which is, very unusual. And we are putting the heads of department under the spotlight. You've done this, where's the evidence? We want to see it. Because at the end of the day, I have to sign an integrity statement to say that I've seen it. Then all those grades will go. They are confidential. We can't tell you what they are. All you know is they are no lower than what the children received in March. And then they go off for statistical standardisation. And then we wait and see what happens from there. But what a relief. I tell a fellow Year 13 parent, it is a relief now that they've gone. Let's put faith in the system now. Faith in the system. LVS handling the crisis so well. Very grateful for your amazing work. Any news about Year 7? Is this for inductions? Could you just clarify that for me a little bit more? I've clocked your name, so please, if you can, if it's about induction and transition. Will we have parents' evenings? There won't be evenings. There'll be calls online going into the evening, and we'll do them when there's convenient from you. Oh, this is what I've had no communication from year 8 teachers since lockdown. Let me look into that one. I know who you are. I've written it down, got my pen. Are year 11 all finished by half term, or their expectations to be in after half term? Right, so if they were in school, then normally by half term they've gone on study leave and off they go and they take their exams. Now we're keeping the children on roll, but it's for the individual. We're offering things for year 11 right and through to the end of the term because it's going to be a long summer. So what we're looking at is that you can start looking at the EPQ and preparations for that. We can do study skills. They've already started for some year 11 parents as well. We can offer reading lists as well for A-level. So even if you're not staying here, we can contact the subject teachers here and they will suggest reading and getting ready. You know, like I say to my son, you know, you've got to prepare yourself for university. Just because a certain part of your life has stopped doesn't mean personally you should be pushing yourself and getting the best you can be for your A-levels or for your university and for yourself, for your own self-esteem and confidence. Get online, find some courses, do some readings. You know, come on, all of us, we should all be doing that. We should all be making ourselves really excellent people up here and not letting that brain die. Okay. An appreciation of being open and honest. I'm one of these people, I wear my heart on my sleeve. It's a bit like that programme, Liar Liar. Can't tell you a lie, can't look you in the eye, even if I'm looking into my phone. I can't. I'm too honest, I'm too transparent, that's who we are, but at least we all know where we are. Okay, and thank you for LVS exceeding our expectations. Impressed by the school, thank you. There's some lovely comments coming in here, so I'm just scrolling down to see if there are questions. If borders can't come back, will the school reopen? If borders... Well, it could be that we reopen, but we might have to do a dual system. But we can't really answer those questions until we've watched and seen what's going on. How are the furlough staff being supported during this time? That's a lovely question. That is a lovely question because we're a family, and furlough's quite a scary thing. You know, when it first came out, you know, like everyone said, it's amazing because it's going to support so many businesses. But you know, I think if I was a member of staff and I was told that I was furloughed, meaning kind of like you can't work right now. I'd be a little bit afraid. I'd be afraid probably for the future. But most of the people that are on furlough, they have jobs because, you know, we might only have 2 gardeners in at the moment, but all our gardeners will be back, all our cleaning staff, you know, we're just waiting for the time when they can come back. And our HR department, they are absolutely fantastic. I'm going to say this online now. Our director of HR, Mrs. Annabelle, she is working her socks off. And those members of staff, they've been phoning staff on a weekly basis. How are you? How are you feeling? You couldn't want for better care. I even get a call and I talk to them daily. And do you know what? I know that this director of HR had to come in one day, so I wasn't here myself. And when I came back the next morning, there's a box of chocolates and a bunch of flowers outside my door. So we're all being taken care of. That is really lovely. Do you think the GCSE grading tiers will be relaxed next year for our current year 10? I think what we need to do is have a look what happens this year, because the government's got a pretty good idea about standardised scores and the amount of children that would achieve grades each year, and the grade boundaries as well will be effective. I think they've got really good measures in place. So I wouldn't worry about grade boundaries or tiers. I think when this starts to relax a little bit, and we can get back to some normal thinking, the exam boards will look very closely at what they're offering. And believe me, we're constantly I'm out there reading stuff left, right and centre. As soon as anything comes through, I'm reading it, we'll pass it on to you. So you will not be disadvantaged. The PTA treasurer's here. Hello, Mrs. Stewart. Yes, please, we're donating the second-hand uniform. It raises lots of money for us to spend on the school. Oh, yeah, I can imagine we've got lots of lovely things we could spend that on as well. So that could be quite an interesting social idea that we keep the gates open one day. Okay, next one. Year 13 done and dusted. I know how that feels. Actually, I feel quite relieved. It's over. You've done it. Your first one is through. How does it feel? You wait till number 3 comes through. You've got a long journey yet. I'm a furloughed member of staff and feel very supported by LVS. Staff check in regularly with me and I'm okay. We have social teams. Do you know what? You just given me goosebumps. This member of staff is one of our technicians, and she came in with a list, and she got all of our equipment out of the science and the DT areas, all the masks and the hand gels and chemicals that I couldn't have looked for because I won't know what I'm looking for. She volunteered during this furlough time to come in and do that. It's all bagged up on 3 trays. We're still waiting for the NHS to collect it, but it's there. Thank you so much, and I'm really glad you feel supported. Lots of sixth forms providing bridging tasks for Year 11 students complete, available on their websites. Yes, that's what we're doing. So if you want that, contact us and we can give you as much work as you want. I bet your children are not listening right now. I'm sure they would love lots of lovely work. We are so supported. Plenty of work here and teacher and reading group calls. I've heard horror stories from friends having to give up their jobs in order to provide childcare and schooling. Thank you for looking after our children. Mrs. C, is it possible to send an email regarding assignments progression of our children by their class teachers so that parents will be in the loop? I will make sure that we have a programme for you, and we'll get it out on Monday telling you exactly what we're going to do for you. The online sessions, the face-to-face sessions, interim feedback, make sure you know when the parents' sessions are at the end of term, feedback from the exams, because remember the 10 and 12s are in assignments straight after half term as well. Regarding reading lists for Year 12, is it preferred for student to contact teacher or for teachers to be proactive on this? That different teachers have got different styles, as we know. So if your child is ready and biting at the bit to get some more work, go straight to the teacher now, because I think a lot of teachers, especially if the children are working hard, don't want to overload them. I can see this is for Year 12. So individual child teacher, if you want us to be more proactive, we will, but at the moment they are looking for their assessments, and that's what they should be focusing on at the moment. Oh, goose update. Oh yes, we're due another photo there, and still 7. There are 7. Yes, there are, because some years we're not so lucky, and they are growing at the rate of knots. They are amazing. They're noisy little things sometimes, especially about 4:30, 5 o'clock, when they decide that they're going to go and give a fox a hard time, and they wake me up. But you know, it doesn't matter, because I'm normally awake thinking about returning to school anyway. So thank you to all the staff for your support in this tricky time. I think we're summing up now. There's no more coming through at the moment, so send it through quickly if you don't. If not, really thank you. That's all I can say. And I'm going to go before I start snivelling. All right, I hope you have a lovely weekend. Think about that technology. Sign up for the quiz on Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Contact Claire Gedge. And I'm here for you. Contact me. Bye.